Troy Knight.
I have a Ukrainian gavel like that tribesmen used to use in Ukraine.
to the class.
Guy who worked for me. This is just like a toy they make up in the tourist section. It has spikes on it. If you don't behave.
Yeah. Put your hand on this.
Right. Take off your hand.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's 7:02 PM, and I am calling the December 5th, 2023 Planning Board meeting to order. We have a tight agenda this evening with just two significant items on the agenda. The first item is the Planning Board's discussion of the seminary's red line version of our draft bylaw. And the second item is entry into executive session. So we'll begin with our discussion of the Browns Hill Overlay District. And I have been informed that Dr. Scott Sundquist would like to make,
Call roll.
thank you, brief remarks. But before we turn to Dr. Sundquist, Emil reminds me that I have omitted a significant component of our meeting, which is to take roll. This meeting is being recorded and will be available on YouTube. But with respect to roll call, when I call your name, would you please indicate that you're present? Pat Norton,
Present?
Jonathan Poor,
Jonathan Poor, present.
Bill Wheaton,
Bill Wheaton present.
Emil Dahlquist,
Emil Dahlquist, present.
Rick Mitchell,
Present.
and Marnie Crouch present, and Matt Hamill
Present.
present. Okay, our associate member, Matt Hamill, is present. Dr. Sundquist, if you would like to address the board.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak. I have been doing some traveling, and I've been keeping up with your work, and I want to begin by saying I appreciate the work of the Planning Board.
Would you excuse me? I note for the record that Beth Hur is present.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So I'd like to begin by both thanking and commending the Planning Board for their excellent work in the Browns Hill Overlay District, BHOD as we know it. I know that many hours of hard work, consultation with stakeholders, and creativity have gone into its development, and I'm quite aware it's been many, many hours. I'm here today because we find ourselves at a critical juncture in the process, and I'm hopeful that my comments will give the board and our neighbors clarity on the seminary's plans for the future. As you'll recall, we were first approached by the town several years ago, well before even considering right-sizing or relocating the seminary, to see whether we were interested in pursuing an overlay district for our property at 130 Essex Street. Our campus had been identified by the Master Plan Steering Committee as a source of future tax revenue for the town, requiring such a zoning change. At the time, although it was not a matter of immediate interest, we came back to the town and indicated that we'd be happy to cooperate in rezoning the parcel should our circumstances change. Well, not long afterward, our circumstances did change. You may remember there was a pandemic, among other things. In response to the disruption experienced by many institutions of higher education, including our own, I announced that we were considering a move from Hamilton to Boston. And as you know, we entered into a purchase and sale agreement with the local developer who sought permission from the Zoning Board of Appeals to have our student apartments converted into 100% affordable housing units. It was in response to those events that led the town to approach us once again to see whether we were willing to work in concert with the select board to discern the, quote, best use of the property should some or all of it be sold. This led to a lengthy consultation process involving all stakeholders, resulting in a formal report to the Planning Board. During that process, two things became clear, I think, to all of us. Number one, people, especially the neighbors, wanted to see as little change as possible. Two, people wanted to see any development result in an increase in tax revenue for the town. Concurrent to the creation of the report, the Planning Board began its work on a draft overlay district, employing, I think for the first time in Hamilton, if I'm not incorrect, the tenets of form-based zoning. Well, this was not what the seminary had envisioned originally. Nonetheless, we continued to work closely with the Planning Board in the hope that we could find a win-win solution for everyone involved. We also informed the Planning Board that our own plans were still very much in flux and that we would make a decision on our future after we had done our due diligence on various options, including the possible move to Boston. And after the market had spoken, and that's what a lot of research has been done recently, concerning the desirability of various parts of the campus. We appreciate that it was a source of some frustration to the Planning Board that there was no specific development proposals before it as it worked to draft the zoning overlay district. Well, we believe that our due diligence has been completed and in a sense the market has spoken. And I'm now able and pleased to announce that Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary will remain on all of our property at 130 Essex Street with the exception of the student apartments. This should be good news to everyone involved. Essentially, nothing will change except the ownership and use of the apartments. Not a single bedroom will be added. The grounds, however, will be significantly improved. And most of all, the apartments will go onto the tax rolls, which has been the wish of many townspeople over the past few years. We believe this is truly a win-win situation for the town and the seminary. So what of the Browns Hill Overlay District? Given the clarity that we all now have, we would be glad to provide our full support of the Browns Hill Overlay District as a safeguard against possible unforeseen changes in the future, provided that the property remains in private hands, the underlying residential zoning remains in place, and we retain our rights as a religious and educational institution. And again, I want to thank you for your hard work and cooperation on the project, and I look forward to a successful result for all of us at the General Town Meeting in April. And I do want to add just one note. In a sense, it's given the seminary a sense of being, genuinely being a part of the neighborhood, because now we know that we are able to stay on the property and be good neighbors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sundquist. I'm speechless here for a moment because we were going to address all the specifics of the Browns Hill Overlay District, and so now I'm puzzled as to whether or not your red line version is still on the table.
Madam Chair, it certainly is on the table because we're still in support of what you're doing. All we are saying is, because it has been asked several times, what do we want? Where are we going? And the answer is we are staying put. We will continue to use those buildings as we've always used them. We will continue to allow people to access the property the way they've always accessed it. Nothing will change except the ownership of the apartments, and the change of ownership in the apartments helps us stay there, and as we've said, puts tax revenue to the town, which a lot of people have wanted. However, we recognize that you've done a lot of work, and none of us has a crystal ball. So if we together can find a way to get the BHOD over the line, let's do it. We have very, very few red lines. So let's do it together. Let's work on it. Let's see it through. So we are not opposed to the BHOD at all. This is not the same conversation we had in July. In July, I said, let's just work on the apartments and another day talk about the rest of the property. We're not saying that. We're saying we're here to get this thing over the line, but you should know that we're staying.
I have a question. What is the status of the development agreement then? What do you intend to do in terms of completing that or advancing that along so we have something to look at there?
Yeah, well, it would be, because of the nature of the fact now that it's just the apartments, it would be a much more curtailed one. So we'll have meetings with the Select Board on that, but the nature of the reduced amount of change that we need at this point, it'd be a much simpler one, as I think we've said in the past.
So am I correct in thinking then that the underlying district would remain in effect? No change to that. However, you still need to authorize the apartment buildings.
Right.
Because you're severing that part of the project.
That's correct.
So that would require then a code on it.
That's correct.
All right, so you're looking for something then that would kind of mesh with the BHOD and also the apartment.
Right, yeah, I mean, we'll continue with the process, and the President just mentioned the issues, some of the fundamental concerns we have. Because we're staying there, we want the least amount of changes to what we can use the property for and how it's used. But we need the change in terms of the apartments. If we can do more, we're certainly open to that.
Well, the issues I have really are the Browns Hill Overlay District as it's presently structured and your red line version are somewhat antithetical to one another, and I'm putting that mildly. So we have to accept that as a given, and we're going to explore that in our conversation this evening. With that said, the planning board also has to recognize that although you intend to stay on this site for the foreseeable future, a planning board plans for the future. So the Browns Hill Overlay District has to essentially do that. And some of the items in your red line version and what the planning board would want to see on that site in the event your circumstances changed and you then determine that in fact you wanted to sell all or a portion of the remaining property, we have to contemplate that and address that. And that's the situation that we're in
Yeah.
now. And it's certainly clear to me that we're not on the same page with respect to the Browns Hill Overlay District, no matter how you want to spin it.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't call it spin. And I would say you're overstating to say that we're in very different trajectories here. We've taken what the planning board put together, and so fundamentally, what the planning board is looking to take away some rights that the seminary has, that's antithetical to what the whole process began at, which was the town coming to us and saying, hey, we'd like to do an overlay district. It was never in anybody's mind that the seminary would lose rights. So we just want to be clear and absolutely certain going forward that the overlay district doesn't reduce the seminary's rights. That's the first thing. Secondly, under the law, we need to have permitted uses going forward to the districts. You've created a number of districts, and we've just said, look, we need to make sure that we've got permitted uses that are not subject to special permit, that are actually viable uses for the marketplace. So that's a second, and that's just a fair thing to ask, right? You wouldn't create a bylaw that takes away rights like that. So it's not fundamentally different. We're saying, let's make sure that the seminary hasn't lost rights that it has right now in cooperating with the town, and then let's make sure that something can be developed there. The rest of the things, you saw that we went through the use categories and everything was SP, frankly, and so we said, some of these need to be P, they need to be permitted.
I'm going to stop you right there. We're not going to engage in a back and forth with the seminary this evening. The purposes of this evening's meeting is for the planning board to have a discussion among themselves and get some input from the public. So I think it will be informative when you hear from us and how we respond to the framework that I produced, and then at a later meeting, we can have a much more deeper discussion into whether the differences that may or may not be exposed this evening can be resolved.
I appreciate that. I would simply ask that the interpretive principle not be that we're at odds, rather that there's an intention to cooperate with the planning board and come up with a win-win for the whole town.
Right.
Thank you.
So, question, Marnie, I'd like an
Excuse me,
information question.
Excuse me a minute. I understand there's a problem with the audio, that the public cannot hear, or all of the audio is distorted. Pat, did you get that message too?
Yeah, we're working on it.
John Witten tells me, it's like the audio isn't connected and voices are turned into pulses.
One suggestion was restarting the, turning it off and restarting.
So Sean, just to bring you up to date, the seminary has announced that they're staying on the entire property and want to sell just the student housing. And they want to retain all the underlying zoning, and they want by right on all the other proposed changes that we have been discussing for the last 9 months.
We should stop, though, because we're
I just wanted
really
to
not
bring them
being
up to
recorded.
speed.
Is the problem at our end or at HW Camp? Do we know?
That's a good question.
I've just texted Bill Melville to find out.
The HW Cam person back there said it looks like it's okay on her end.
So do we want to just restart everything? Is that what you suggested?
That's what somebody suggested, yeah. Whether that,
Sometimes that's the best thing.
Says we're not on the, I was just wondering if the computer was causing the problem. It doesn't look that way. It's, do you want to try, should we stop and restart?
Sure.
Want to announce we're stopping and restarting?
Okay, because of the issue with the sound, you probably won't be able to hear me, but we're going to stop and restart.
Just do the leave.
Do we have audio,
I'll
though?
run it through.
There's
to
no
start.
audio. That's why we're restarting.
Because technically, this meeting can't continue unless we have
Audio, right.
Okay. Yeah, just close.
he's the one who said that everything's distorted on this.
It's my husband.
I know, I'm just kidding.
He's scared. Could be at his end. Oh, no, but John is.
Yeah, yeah. The problem we're gonna have is, how do we separate the who doesn't think about it? It's a cluster. Because I'm not sure how to do it. We need to talk about this further.
That would be part of the plan. That's still part of the plan.
As long as they don't sell it, what they're trying to do is transfer it. It's really what they do.
In terms of zoning,
Yeah, because they wouldn't be entitled.
which is our purview, but they would still have to resolve the septic system, have to resolve a bunch of other issues. But in terms of zoning, that would be
Okay.
allowed as a special permit senior, cluster senior model application. Yeah, no, you have to be, yeah, you have to split the property.
In July.
It wouldn't require any zoning jump bylaw change.
Looks like we
My
were
question
here,
is-
maybe?
Other provision,
Can somebody in the audience, not this audience, but the Zoom audience, confirm they can hear us?
Or text John Witten,
Or
maybe.
John Whitten.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not allowed by law, but.
Or they can raise their hand.
Well, if they can hear us, yes.
if anyone in the audience could let us know whether our audio is viable now, would you please let us know somehow?
John just tells me it's still the same.
You can see our microphone going up and down. You see what I mean?
Would
Yeah.
actually be applicable.
What's
if
in
they
the
wanted
bot?
to- I don't know, I'm trying to see whether
Try that.
the subdivision, not the dividing of the property in two, and
Yes,
adapting,
so Patrick,
John's calling you now.
there's some way of fitting that into existing zoning without having a bylaw.
Hey, John.
Hey, Patrick. So it's like a,
Patrick, so on that, or Pat, it says 1 on the audio. Do you see that red 1? Do we know what that is?
It's an exclamation mark.
Oh, exclamation mark. I can't see it from here.
And I,
It's a red something.
it's a red,
it's never a good sign.
Didn't know if,
If it was
Right,
keep
we'll
the,
keep going.
the whole
same
label.
as
Try to-
system.
Okay, thanks.
I don't know if that's worked or not.
sometimes it's beyond me.
There's a lot of complications to it, so I'm not saying it includes it, but it's a lot of steps.
Right, but
Microphone
my
access.
solution would be to have a developer actually come and say with the apartments. Yeah. And then we would say, do that with, you know, these,
Following steps.
with the following steps and, but we don't need zoning.
If that's any better. We just keep on selecting different options.
Bill tells me that it's fine on YouTube, but not on our Zoom.
Oh, interesting.
So it must be, the Zoom is the problem.
Oh, still. Can we hear John Witten if we unmute him?
I believe that the single family, the line use,
I'm wondering if we can hear them, though, because
Interesting that we can do it on YouTube.
5 or 10 years from now, if they want to.
YouTube isn't live, is it, Pat? It's,
it is live.
it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not a recording?
We'll be back to where we are.
I mean, it gets
To
recorded,
be-
but it's right now, it's, yeah.
The damn little money in the meantime.
If it's, I'll
Can
look it
people
up.
participate on YouTube?
They
No.
might be able to write in, but that's why I was wondering if he could speak to us, then he could watch the YouTube or something. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming over here, Marnie.
Well, I'm thinking if the audience members logged into YouTube and it's interactive, we'd still have a public meeting.
Right. I think they could write in comments. I'm looking it up right now.
I don't think that would work because this was noticed as a Zoom
meeting.
Zoom meeting, and as far as I know, YouTube is not interactive.
Right. All right, so here we go.
That's right.
Right now, it's set up like we normally are. Muted on the computer, we're going through HCAM. You can see the HCAM microphone moving.
Septic and the
We're
GPD
talking.
and every, all
Yeah, we just don't know why that little exclamation point is there.
Well, it's no longer there.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Okay.
We changed
John,
it, so it's,
so you got that solved. Can John hear us?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, John's just getting electronic noise.
Well, I wonder if it's John.
No,
Is there, who else is on? Anybody?
Yeah, what about the attendees?
Yeah. Do we have a list of?
type something into the chat.
You know what? Do you want, how about I go out and see if I can, I'm gonna try getting on the Zoom outside the room and see, so we don't get feedback.
Well, and would it make sense to ask users to log in again to see if we've corrected or on this end?
Microphone.
That has gone into.
Yeah.
You can hear it, it's like a, did you hear that?
Yeah, I did.
Strange.
Verb.
It's like we're getting the same thing now.
Possibly be a computer glitch. Is it worth trying a different computer? Is there a different computer we can try?
I don't know how you get access to the host login from another computer. But you can hear this like feedback from somewhere.
Is it still an official meeting? Without it?
I don't think so.
Because the room is open for people to come here, and I assume it's got convenience.
I think that, people, they may have elected not to come because of the Zoom deals, there was a bridge and everything.
Apps, microphone, Zoom.
I have absolutely no skills to contribute to a resolution of this problem.
No.
I think it's something set up in the room because we're getting the feedback from their system. You know what I mean? It's not like your computer would be providing electronic noise to the
Yeah, right.
participants.
What do you think it is?
I think it's something in the set up in the system over there because the computer would be providing that electronic noise that, and we're hearing it too through the speakers.
Yeah,
that we
it's
pay.
making weird,
Should we restart the entire meeting?
oh, have them go off of YouTube?
Yeah, have them go offline and just start over? I mean, would that,
We can try.
I mean, if you can't solve it just this way, we could at least,
Well, we know it's not just John Witten, because
oh, yeah,
phone, I have
no,
the same
it's
noise,
others,
but
yeah.
I
You
can-
can hear that.
Yeah.
Even when she's in
I
when,
hear the
So
reverberation.
turn everything off and just start
Do
again?
you think that's worthwhile
One
to
more
just,
time? What do we got to lose?
we have nothing to
And
lose.
we restarted the meeting, and that, I don't think it has anything to do with the meeting or Zoom. It's something set up in their system, I believe. 'cause it's-
Right, so if we restart that, maybe,
Yeah, they could.
I'll ask.
Are we off on all of those?
Yeah, 'cause we're-
because they
just make-
have problems periodically, because I went to do minutes for the Master Plan Steering Committee, and the YouTube video was
we
blank.
didn't hear.
I mean, nothing was recorded.
Is it Bill? I think Bill's on his way. Bill Melville.
Okay,
So, I mean, we can try turning it off, but she said he's coming, so what would you rather do? I guess he lives right down the street. Thank you. I needed a decision.
moved everybody out of here. I don't see
my
any,
comments.
I don't see any actions.
They're all
Shut
general,
it up.
but we now have to do what impact does that have on our thinking?
Habitat project, so we just.
No, here, this building. So they moved everybody out of here. There's nothing going on.
I don't, I frankly don't see any change to separating the dormitories from the rest of the site. Whether they're there or not, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter to me. Not even the Dover amendment, but what I don't want to see is that transfer the development rights to somebody else. Extend the privileges that these folks have already had to a future developer. That's what I see happening.
Had some startup users there for cities and towns.
Yeah, yeah.
Alterations, changes, extensions, reconstructions, changes to give a building.
Yeah.
Hard to execute that, I guess.
Big expectations.
So they don't know what's right.
Events, mecca. Not so much.
Yeah.
And they were able to build that.
I'd like to hear Witten's comment.
A lot of people looking for space right now.
First, and before we go too far. Get somebody,
That's for sure.
I don't want to put him on the spot today, because I don't know what he's heard on this, so.
Get rid of space.
He's sitting on it on 45 minutes, but I didn't see. Get his response after that.
No, as an architect, build a really tall house on a steep hill. Could you choose vertical board and batten type lines as a siding? Accentuate the height of the thing that's on the hill.
Depends upon what your goal is.
I would
Totally depends upon your goal.
I don't know if that is the, that is the, I don't know if that's.
Where are we talking specifically?
On Bridge Street.
Oh, on Bridge Street, yeah.
The one on the corner I drove past the other day, I was like, oh, that was like,
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if that was like the just preparation for what it's gonna receive for siding, or if that is the like board batten, like vertical modern, everyone doing now siding for it.
I mean, the buildings are so unhappy in their topography that the siding is really kind of a rounding
My
error.
question is, what is the status of
Doesn't
all
matter.
these on the site if they were to sell it to some organization other than a religious and educational institution? Yeah.
I wonder if any of
I
those
would
are sold,
vote
the
you wipe
Tom
out all
Ford
the
ones.
buildings if you want it, if you want the underlying, you wipe it all out.
Yeah.
Same with the one that's up
Pay
on,
attention to the overlay.
towards, just past the school.
But we gotta stipulate in there what happens. That's why we said as of right.
Yeah, it's-
the existing.
It's always interesting to see kind of what sells and what sits on the market, so.
I was talking to the Aura council, the general counsel for the Aura, the Waldingfield project. Land court denied the appeal of the Friends of Waldingfield. And then they apparently paid a bunch of money for lawyers and didn't spend any money on technical, the value of the project, so the land court denied it. Yeah. So they're starting out whatever. And then now they appealed to the Supreme Court, so they expect the, well, Aura hopes the Supreme Court upholds the land court's decision to not, to maintain the planning board's decision to approve the project.
I think we have to go through
It's been
some,
a year,
though, like
it was this time last year they
establish what
approved
uses
it.
permitted and
After 2 years for the board.
So,
A lot of credit to the owner. Sticking to their guns, because
but that won't give them carte blanche. They're asking for,
it's been a long road for them.
Yes. Yeah, I was curious where that was at.
Yeah, it's in the Supreme Court right now. But the land court was quick, actually, to decide with the planning board.
yeah.
Yeah, they don't go in against local boards unless it's egregious.
Yeah. How can you say it's egregious after they brought him through the ringer for 2 years, you know?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a bit of a sliding scale.
the Friends of Wallingfield were leaning on this, like, traffic study. They were like pushing for the traffic study. The traffic study, of course, then resulted in they determined that it would affect, like, 0.6 seconds time. It would affect people's commuting, impact the commuting in that area.
It's nothing.
I've never seen a traffic study prove a project would be impactful.
I think, I hate to even say this because we're not on the record, but given our problems here and our second item on the agenda, assuming we can even get back into full meeting mode, I think we may have to curtail our discussion of the Browns Hill Overlay District. We simply won't have time to address it thoughtfully enough. So I hesitate to keep you here just to announce what I'm saying now. I think we have, some things to consider based on Dr. Sundquist's remarks, and it looks like our schedule and our time frame for getting work done tonight has been seriously disrupted. So if you all were to elect to not wait for us anymore, that would be understandable.
Do you need to take a motion on that?
No, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
We're not
In which
live.
case, we would make a promise not to discuss. A promise. Right?
Totally up to you guys. I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's.
Well, I just don't think as a practical matter, we're going to have time to really get into it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to go home.
Right.
Technology strikes again.
It does.
Good luck.
Good night.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, sorry.
Did you get a chance to make a decision about your future?
Next week. 3 kids under 4. At 14. 3 kids, 4, 2, and 1.
This is a casualty of the
Twins.
Oh, so yeah, so I have Irish. Bylaws all done?
building.
It's all set?
Yeah,
The bylaw?
yeah.
Yeah, no discussion.
Audio?
No, I just sent them home because we're not gonna have time to get into it. I told Robin that we'd try and start it.
Thanks for coming.
And
What?
we're nowhere here.
Yeah.
This technology
We
business.
can't technically have a meeting at all.
Resting
No,
final occupancy.
no. So if we can get back up and
After
running by
having
8
occupied.
o'clock, we're good. That's what I'm
Okay.
hoping, but I didn't want them. So
Yeah.
if you know anybody, then
Yes,
go
I
talk
will.
to them.
I will.
So, Barney, we're going to have a meeting tonight.
We are, we're supposed to have executive session, but I think only if we can even, get up and running.
We just need to do, we don't need the YouTube.
My Tesla is a never-ending source of
Actually,
interest
you
in
have
technology.
legally,
I've had
so long as a meeting is posted and in person, it doesn't have to have Zoom.
operating system updates.
was, I didn't know because it wasn't
Yeah, automatically.
Yeah.
But the question is.
Of the 29,
Yep.
2 made improvements in my driver
Yeah,
experience.
we do not need Zoom for that.
27.
Robin's
No, maybe
supposed to be here.
more than two, maybe 4 or 5 made it worse. And the
Well, you have
other
to make the
20
motion,
had
though, in open session,
They were-
go into executive session.
fixing glitches
Have
which you
to
didn't know
close out of
existed
this
and
meeting
couldn't care
and
less
then
about.
go
But
into.
I would say they made two steps
We
forward.
did have one
3 steps
other
back.
agenda item, which was to talk about the
Schedule.
2024 schedule.
I mean, I think it's a problem that
Recording's paused.
too many technical people attest to thinking about what can be done.
Because I think as long as we're.
Opposed to
brushing it out.
As opposed to what do people want?
And what should be done.
We're
is ready
okay,
Right.
and fully,
no matter what. We don't have to have Zoom,
Amazing.
so,
luckily.
fear of the day when all of it will be run by.
I saw court case decisions recently.
I've done a couple, I have very simple,
Because they're allowing.
free version of
state has been
ChatGPT.
allowing-
and I
They're
used
allowing
it a
it,
couple
but not
times.
required.
Yeah.
And I have
There's no in Ipswich.
not ceased to be
their
impressed.
Town is saying that applicants are required,
Vastly superior to Google.
Of course,
but
of course, yeah.
they keep the meetings on Zoom in case people want to tune in
Yeah.
from home.
And it makes sense. It's easy for people,
Did you hear about
certainly
the,
easy for consultants.
quantum computers? That study now that's being advanced? That's interesting. Where it's going to really make,
And if you can watch it.
So quantum computers for quantum physics study?
yeah, it's from quantum physics, yeah.
Yeah.
Down on a molecular level.
A
and
lot of the
analysis
boards
or
have
atomic
young
level.
parents on them.
But
And
the
it's
speed
really helpful
is
to
so
be able
extraordinary,
to
it makes
be at
regular
home.
computers just completely
At
obsolete.
least keep the kids away
And
from the
things that would
stove.
take, that actually, all the most powerful computers now could never figure out, could be done quite quickly by this new version. I guess IBM is kind of spearheading.
But I don't think
Yeah.
it changes the nature of computing.
No, it's the speed.
It just speeds it up.
But the problems you're able to solve now are unsolvable with current, because of the limitations of computing.
Well, it's not so much that it changes the way things are computed, it changes the control of the computing. In other words, you can reach something called singularity, where it basically starts to think for itself, and that's where it can potentially usurp.
That's more my kids get
Whatever
rocks
the
and sticks in the
controls are.
backyard.
Yeah.
So,
But you know, you
Don't
see,
forget the
Science
boxes.
Major first skill.
Kids love
Singularity
boxes.
is a science fiction-based fear, not a proven
but they use that term,
problem.
but they use that term just even in terms of, within a contained, machine learning system, you know, when it can.
So what time Robin's coming
When
in?
it can.
She was supposed to be here at 8.
They use that term there as well. Anyway, interesting.
Yes, but
stuff.
that's a continuum. Singularity has some sort of threshold or something, but in computer learning as it's currently evolving,
It's in lots of pieces.
it just gets stronger gradually. Never really thinks on its own, but it never, it just grows in sophistication.
I guess the limitation is that every little part of current computerization is binary. So it's that.
Yeah, but people think you used to think that the brain was actually analog and not binary, but that's not true. People that I know say the brain appears to operate in a binary manner, which means maybe a little more sophisticated than what we're doing now, but it doesn't put it in a different league from autonomous computing, which is binary
The
too.
difference with the quantum is that it considered everything at one time instead of going for a series of binary choices. In other words, if you had a maze, was an example, a maze, what the current computer would do is make every possible turn, yes or no, quick work or didn't work.
No, an AI computer wouldn't work like that at all. No.
But this was said by a scientist, whereas the quantum one, which considers everything, you know, as a possibility. possibility.
And the schools
would solve
definitely
it,
need something. I mean,
by just looking at everything
library, when
instantaneously.
the place is getting run down, for sure. So,
Not sure
you don't want
that's.
anything, you don't want anything, you don't want nothing to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's what
Maybe you
sounded
don't want
extraordinary.
mega school to happen.
But, they're in the beginning
I just don't
phases
know.
of it. It's not going to
There's
be.
friends of
it's not
ours who are
usable
friends
at this
with,
stage, but, apparently
Rachel?
IBM is sort of taking a lead on it now.
She quit she was on the school board.
Oh,
like a good-
Including Google.
Yeah.
and they're
A lot of
dumping
people
a
are
lot
friends
of
with, that we know, and she just got so frustrated.
2 hours away, and one of my
Ran
meetings
the
with
school.
like Apple, sort of leading the charge in AI and virtual reality.
She had already resigned.
So he's in circles with, all the other
Let's
folks
try,
who are doing
Patrick, let's try it now. Seems like it.
You hear that noise, right?
And
Yeah, I know that. I'll turn it down.
quite sort of a blind race.
I'm not sure. It'd be good if we looked at the settings.
Well, that's what all the,
Yeah.
I don't think that's it, but
that's what the kerfuffle was with.
Yes.
I don't see how, once that information,
do you want to look at the settings on Patrick's computer, just to
not
make
gonna
sure we
stop
haven't
it.
screwed that up?
Anyway, I'm just telling you that he's
No,
on,
no, I know that.
he's on the bleeding edge, and
And that's not what we done.
he's on the bleeding edge, and he's very concerned about it, but, he's also, in a lead position in Apple, and so there's sort of, it puts Google and Apple and all these other.
I mean, I guess those are in
risk of their
We need
existence
someone
if they don't
Yeah.
jump into the.
John
arms
Witten
race.
is there.
Okay, so let's see if he.
Anyway,
I
interesting
heard,
stuff.
the fellow
We're
who
still
was,
live, so maybe see if he can hear us.
sort of poached from
Oh,
his company.
he just said he could hear us now.
Okay, so,
Sure, it's Waltman, he was.
yeah, have him say something. Unmute him and see if we can hear him.
Were asked to
And then brought
leave,
back.
and then brought back that
Yep.
Google was sort of backing both. They wanted to
It was
hire him.
Microsoft.
Okay,
You're talking about Altman?
Was it Microsoft?
OpenIA,
Okay. So it was
Microsoft has a
sorry.
huge position in OpenIA,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So when the
John's on
dispute
the.
arose, they were happy to have Altman
Okay,
come and
John
work directly for Microsoft.
John, do you mind speaking and letting us know
But
how the audio sounds to the audience?
preferred to keep their arm's length, but only part of OpenAI. And so
It's
board back down, reinstated Altman. They were happy too. Microsoft sort of either way. They were going to win either way. That's why they took the position in
out
it.
of our use today. We had some.
Just protect their interest.
Our general counsel had this like statue on his desk in pieces. It's just been in a drawer. And I have this like fancy book with this receipt for a lot of money, and just a broken thing in the drawer. And he's like, "How do
Let's
you
chat for a minute on,
can figure out how to put this back together?" Like, no idea, man. It's like
I wrote a letter
it's like
to
the craziest puzzle you could ever imagine.
the woman who
It's
has
pretty
mass
famous.
housing,
The same guy who's
offering to give her a picture.
it's the same
Hamilton and the environs,
guy.
so she could see where
Like a
this
mini.
property fit in. And she respectfully wrote
I
me
use the
back
same
saying
things.
that
Figure out.
they had already done it.
Well, they did the site visit.
And
I mean, he's got like wood little
I was also
spears.
very impressed
This
with
thing and this like
some of the letters that were sent to her, which we, what, 150 of them
it's
we
like
got
a
copies of,
$50,000
because they were just,
He's just in a
they were
drawer
deeper
with
than,
broken.
I'm worried about,
pretty
runoff
scenery.
and doing something to a pretty environment.
They talked about tax dollars.
That's right.
no, I don't know.
And there were two letters, which also echoed my point, which is that we shouldn't have a law which allows developers to sort of append.
John, do you mind trying once more? I don't know if you can hear us or not.
Override our legitimate concerns. Term.
His microphone is
40B
moving.
housing
You can't hear him.
is inappropriately located.
John, we're gonna try to restart.
In the wrong places at the wrong time. And I think that's, so I. Whatever.
Hey, Robin.
Are we live now?
Beacon Hill.
Yeah, but we're rebooting the Zoom.
Well, we can't hear them, they can hear us.
That's one of the problems that they're having.
But we're,
And
this all went away.
So can we enter executive session
Yes,
without
that was the
announcing?
whole thing.
So we can't go dead in the water unless we announce it.
One way to clear the agenda.
No, you can't, you have to do open session. And if it's been more than like 5 or 10 minutes since it stopped working, even if you can fix it now, it's too late because people will think it. And we're gonna have to reschedule.
Robin, the Zoom doesn't, it's not a requirement to be on Zoom.
It is because you post them as in-person and Zoom
Oh, yeah, you have to
meetings.
be on Zoom.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to reschedule because you can't convene the executive session. You have to convene it in an open meeting
Well,
consistent.
they can hear us, we can't hear them, but we can,
Well, but if you already ended the meeting.
No, we
No,
didn't
we're
end
gonna-
a, no, we didn't end a
You
meeting.
didn't end the meeting.
No.
Dismiss the people who were here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just told them that by
We
the
weren't-
time we resolved our technical issues, we would have insufficient time to really discuss the first item on the agenda. So I suggested that they leave. But we're still on for the executive session. There's no motion to adjourn or anything
But-
like that.
they're rebooting everything, which they've had to do a couple times.
So I guess my concern would be if the Zoom has been off for a period of time, that the public thinks this meeting has ended.
No.
No, we told them we were gonna restart.
Oh, you told anyone that was on you were restarting?
Yeah, but they might not have been able to hear us at one point. The last time they could hear us.
Zoom was on until seconds ago, really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So there's been people on it, sitting, trying to communicate back and forth, so there has been.
to let us
So
know. if
are
they-
those people back?
Couple of them are.
Yeah, I think so.
John Whitten.
It's really just.
John Whitten.
Just John.
And I don't know who that other person is.
Okay.
The other person,
John something.
John Schlock? Schock?
So Marty, Robin had a suggestion when you post future meetings, that you post in person and then Zoom Zoom is a courtesy
Oh.
component. So then if something goes wrong with the Zoom, you can continue session in person without that.
did you get that, Patrick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should try John again.
John, you mind giving us a shot again?
Is he unmuted?
Yeah, he's same thing.
He's trying to talk to us,
But the thing is, we can adjourn from executive session because John can hear us. Can you confirm, Patrick, that John can hear us? So if we can adjourn from executive session and it's being recorded, it's just that we can't hear.
Ask John if he can put his hand up or wave or something, raise his hand.
Well, he's texting him. Patrick's texting. Oh, there you go. You can hear us.
Thankfully.
Can we hear him?
No.
No.
We can't hear him. He can hear us, I think.
So it's like the opposite before we, yeah, see how he sounds?
There's
Right.
something wrong with the
But at any rate, that's immaterial because everyone can hear us. So we can now enter executive
So
session.
you need a motion, right?
Oh, just 1 minute.
I make a motion that we,
Hold on,
Wait,
just
he has
1
to go
minute.
down. Yeah, that's fine.
We did have one component of board business, which was the draft 2024 meeting dates. Does anyone have any problems with those dates? We can continue consideration of these dates until our next meeting. It shouldn't delay us.
Okay,
They're part of the
great,
package.
great.
I double-checked, I believe I double-checked to make sure that there were no conflicts with any holidays.
Including the school week holidays?
School
Oh,
vacation week.
no, sorry.
I'll look,
How's that look?
Good.
are they both April and February?
Yeah, I think, hold on. Try to pull up the dates. I think the February week and the April week are both the school week vacation.
All right, let's just continue consideration
Yeah.
of the meeting dates till our next meeting, and you can double-check when the school vacations are.
Great.
We good with that?
Yep. I'd also propose one meeting in November and one meeting in December.
Oh, okay, we can talk about that too.
Which is what Ipswich does. Because I've been held hostage by it.
Okay, so pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 21, subsection A3, I have determined that it's important that we enter executive session to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, which would be detrimental if we continued in an open meeting. And this litigation is involving Tobacco Hill Capital Partners LLC versus the Planning Board. And there are two actions pending, one in the Land Court and one in the Superior Court. So I'll entertain a motion to enter executive session.
Motion made to enter into executive session?
Do I have a second? Yes. So when I call your name, would you please indicate your assent to this motion? Pat Norton,
Pat Norton, aye.
Jonathan Poor,
Jonathan Poor, aye.
Bill Wheaton,
Bill Wheaton, aye.
Emil Dahlquist,
Emil Dahlquist, aye.
Beth Herr,
Beth Her, aye.
Rick Mitchell,
Aye.
and Marty Crouch, aye. We're now in executive session.